Hi, this is Ed Quackenbush from Watervliet Elks. I just wanted to let you know some of the things that the Elks do for the city of Watervliet. We have the dictionary projects, which presents the third grades of Watervliet and Heatley with dictionaries. The drug awareness, to try to keep kids away from drugs. We have Flag Day. The Hoop Shoot, which is well known in Watervliet with Chris Dawes. Our major projects, cerebral palsy, the Elk Scholarships, Veteran Services, the Watervliet Food Pantry, also give back to the Boy Scouts, the high school graduation awards, and the sports teams. We need your support for various fundraisers that we have here in Watervliet, and most of the funds are returned right back to the city, so any help you can give us would be greatly appreciated. Thank you very much.
Senator, and I'm asking you to donate your computers to the Watervliet Housing Authority. And if you do, they can repair them and replace, or repair, let's go back. Okay.
Hello everyone, I'm Mary Jo Hughes. You are joining us today at the 2013 annual fundraiser for the Watervliet Museum. Since its opening in September of 2008, the Watervliet Museum has welcomed countless visitors to see its diverse and extensive exhibits, illustrating the many facets of Watervliet's rich history. And joining us now is Tom Ragusta, the president of the Watervliet Historical Society, to tell us about this event. Tom, how are you this evening?
Hi, Mary Jo. I'm so happy that you came, and we love to talk a little bit about our museum. We love it.
This is a fabulous event. I look forward to this every year. Now, Tom, as we said, this is the 5th annual fundraiser for the museum. You are president of the Watervliet Historical Society. What is the connection between the Historical Society and the museum?
Well, the Historical Society was reformed in 2007, and we just didn't think it was enough. We wanted to be able to display some Watervliet history. So we did talk to the city looking for a place for a museum, and of course we were very fortunate that this building was available and the city made it available to us. And so in 2008 we started a museum, and it's grown every year just by leaps and bounds. We're just so proud of it, really. Yeah.
Tell us about this fundraiser.
Well, the fundraiser, this is our main fundraiser, obviously. We have a number of fundraisers during the year. We do the farmers market and so on and so on. But this is our main fundraiser, and of course it supports our museum. We can buy some artifacts, our displays, just everything connected, the utilities we pay for, our insurances and so on. So this is very important to the museum to keep it going.
Watervliet has 2 museums, this one and its sister museum, the Watervliet Arsenal Museum.
Yes. Yep, and in fact the Watervliet Arsenal Museum is just fantastic also. We have Bob File obviously here to do a little presentation for us tonight, but Bob has been my mentor. When we started at the museum, Bob has really helped me out. How to assess items, how to run a museum, and they've just been invaluable. They've donated items to us, cases and so on and so forth. So we thought it'd be very appropriate to, obviously it's 200 years to the Watervliet Arsenal this year, 1813 to 2013. So we decided to have Bob come in and do a fantastic presentation, which he usually does anyway for us tonight. So again, we're just happy to have him here. The Arsenal Museum is just fantastic also. We encourage everybody to go visit them. They're open Sunday through Thursday from 10 to 3, and they have artifacts and memorabilia from the War of 1812 right up to the present time there too. So we're partners. We're really partners. Yep.
This year, as you said, marks the 200th anniversary of the Watervliet Arsenal, and the curator of the Arsenal, Bob File, will be giving us a presentation of the role of the Arsenal through the past 2 centuries and its impact in our area.
Yeah. Well, let's face it, the Watervliet Arsenal and the Erie Canal were the two main reasons for the development of the city of Watervliet. So, obviously, is one of the largest factors for its development. And not only that, there's always been a partnership between the city and the Arsenal. John Gibbons from Gibbonsville actually sold 12 acres to the federal government to form the Arsenal. The Arsenal was actually called the Arsenal at Gibbonsville for a number of years. It wasn't called the Watervliet Arsenal for probably maybe 10 or 12 years after its inception. So it's been around a long time. It's been a great place for employment for us and a great partner for the city of Watervliet. So we're happy again to have the theme for this party tonight, the Watervliet Arsenal.
Well, the best of luck to the Watervliet Historical Society and the museum. And today we are here exclusively for the fundraiser. However, WVLT has been invited to return to give a tour of the museum for those of us who may not have the availability to do so.
Yeah, well, we've grown leaps and bounds in the last year, and it's probably the best kept secret in Watervliet, and I wish it wasn't the best kept secret. We've added so many beautiful displays here. We have an Erie Canal display. We have a Chimola set, 11 bell set made by the Meneely Foundry. We just set up a new display, a room actually, in the churches of Watervliet. We have just a wonderful display of West Troy pottery now. People are going to be very surprised when they come in here. It's much bigger than the city itself, really. Yeah.
Tom, what are the hours of operation for the museum?
The museum is opened Wednesday through Saturday, 11 to 4. And I'm here myself Wednesday, Thursday, sometimes Friday, sometimes Saturday too, I guess. So anyway, stop in and see us. You'll really be pleased what you see. Yeah.
Tom Resta, what a fabulous evening. President of the Watervliet Historical Society. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mary Jo. We appreciate it. Thank you.
And joining us now is the mayor of the city of Watervliet, Mayor Mike Manning. Mayor, thank you so much for joining us this evening. How are you?
I'm well. Thanks for having me.
This is a great event. Now, Watervliet is a great city, and there's always something interesting going on. This museum is open to everyone, and admission is always free.
Yeah, there's not too many things left that are free these days, right? And this is something special. This is probably the best kept free secret, too, isn't it? Tom, Mary Lou, and the rest of the staff here have done a tremendous job of not only collecting the pieces for the exhibit, but displaying them, professionally displayed. It looks really just like a museum. So very proud to be part of this and support them in any way we can here at the city.
Now, there's a new room in the museum dedicated to all the churches in Watervliet. The museum is proud to have obtained St. Patrick's Church Meneely bell on display for all to see.
Yes, the bell is behind us, and we also, this was a group effort to get this placed here. The bell weighs about 8 tons, and the crossbeam weighs another ton or so, so this was an effort to get it here. Strex Inc. down in Port Schuyler helped spruce it up and put the support back together, and then transport the bell and place it. And the city DPW team put the pad together. Clough Harbor designed the pad for us, and of course Tom bargained to get the bell. So, team effort.
The museum also has obtained an 11-bell Meneely Chimola bell set, and there are only 5 Chimola bell sets manufactured by Andrew Meneely, and Watervliet Museum here has 1 set of them.
Yes, I remember when I first became mayor, the owner of the set wanted to, sell them to us, and I really didn't have the money to buy a set, and they were just in storage, and I guess finally he's agreed to put them here, and why keep something like that in storage if there's only so many sets? And now we've got a set there, and again, the staff here put, we got the bells, yes, but the display is another marvel to see, and hear.
And anyone can come down and ring them.
Yes.
And play them.
And play them. Whether you can play them well or not.
Now, would you like to ring this bell?
Sure. We'll give it a shot. We ready?
Ready.
I'm going to climb up higher.
Beautiful, beautiful residence. Watervliet is so rich in history, proudly claiming many noteworthy businesses that have had a profound impact on society, and the Meneely Bell Company has had an impact both nationally and internationally.
Yes, of course, you can't see it on camera here, but we're looking at the spot where the Meneely Bell Foundry was, and what's left of the Meneely Foundry is the bells, and they're literally all over the country and all over the world. And we have this one here behind us, of course, the chime set, as well as there's a bell also just outside the library. So I think we're doing our part to keep that tradition alive.
And as you said, the Meneely Bell Company was exactly where the library is right now. And a little tidbit, when my mother was going to summer school on a regular basis in the summers down at Vincentian Institute, the trolley would stop right in front of the Meneely Bell Company where the library is right now, and the Meneely boy would get on the trolley and they would go down to summer school to the courses together, so she knew him fairly well.
Oh, nice. Yeah. And where is he now?
Unfortunately, he has passed on.
Oh, even the son?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that was a while ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yep. Well, Mary, thank you so very much for joining us today.
All right. Thanks for being here.
This is Morgan's Artillery coming to you on WVLT, asking you to come down to the museum and see the wonderful job they've done here with the bell from the bell tower from St. Patrick's, and just to check out everything historic Watervliet. We're with Morgan's Artillery, and of course the Watervliet Historical Society sponsors our Civil War event down at Schuyler Flats every year. And we're part of the Historical Society, and we're asking you to please patronize the event. They are the governing sponsor for us down there. It's Civil War Days, and it's August 17th, 18th, and come on down and see us. And please come down to the museum. They've just done a super job with the City of Watervliet, Tom Reguston, and the Historical Society. And, we came all the way from Richmond up here to participate to see this bell tribute tonight. Thank you.
In high school, they called me the quiet one. But I will be talking on this one. This will be recorded on the videotape. They're going to tape it and put it on channel 17 in Watervliet. I also have the video available if any other group likes to have our presentation. That's one of my responsibilities, is to go out and do talk shows either to schools or to organizations or whatever. The Watervliet Arsenal Museum, I started there in year 2000, so I've been there 13 years. We have a lot of artifacts going back to the Revolutionary War. We have one of the cannon that was captured at Battle of Saratoga. We have a Williams gun that was used by the Confederates. They designed it and developed it in the Civil War. We have the bunker buster. I'll show you a picture of it. This was a bomb that was used in 1991 to penetrate Hussein's bunker. He built it 100 feet underground, figuring that as his command post that nobody had anything in the world in their arsenal to penetrate it. And up until that time, that was true. We built 6 of them. Well, actually, technically, we built 2 of them in 23 days. Those 2 were tested. We dropped one from an airplane out in the Midwest. It went 164 feet in the ground before it finally stopped. The second one, they mounted on a rocket test sled facility. They took a 3-foot thick slab of reinforced concrete. Now, they stacked them together for over 22 feet. It went through them all and kept going for another half a mile. So we knew, and while this was going on, we're building 2 more. Okay? They were then loaded with propellant, flew out to Iraq. By the time it got out there, the paint was dry and the propellant was solid. They mounted it on an airplane, and the first one, for some reason, it missed the target. So the 2 planes were going to, because the second plane had the laser beam. And so they regrouped, didn't have enough gas in their tanks, so they had to get refueled to come back for the second one, and it went and penetrated the bunker and went all the way down. We do have a video in the arsenal of it. Because there were 6 of them built, we have one of the 6 here at the arsenal. I had a fellow come by yesterday from the Stevenstown Veterans Group. And he says, you know, I read about that the Air Force was making a whole bunch of these bunker busters, and your name was never mentioned. I said, well, yeah, we built the first 6, and when the Air Force decided they wanted more, we weren't allowed to bid on it, because we're Army, not Air Force. We're a cannon manufacturer, not an ammunition manufacturer. But anyway, they went to an Army ammunition plant to manufacture it, and they're still using them. There was one design change being done while we're building them. Oh, and they found out they didn't know which plane these bombs were going to fly on. So we have all these different fixtures on there depending on which one they were going to use. But it was 3 feet too long for one plane. If it was not used and they had to land, the plane wouldn't land because the flap was going to hit the bomb. So we had to shorten it by 3 feet. So anyway, we do have a museum at the Arsenal. It's free. We're under the Center of Military History organization, same as West Point Museum, the New York State Military Museum, and 59 other total museums throughout the United States. There's no charge for admission. You go, for those of you who are familiar, we're at the south, you go to the south gate, across the street from McIntyre's. Tell the guards you want to go to the museum, show them your driver's, they'll have you go into the visitor center, sign in, get a visitor's pass. They will need to show you, adults will need to show their driver's license, and you're in. Bring a flash camera. You can take all the pictures you want inside, and we have a special photo op for you. When we built the bunker busters, the center portion was made from an 8-inch gun tube. Again, 23 days, you've got to use what's available, okay? Right next to the bunker busters is the 8-inch gun tube. You put the camera inside, a couple inches in, and somebody stands at the other end, and you take the picture. And what you have is the rifling in the picture with somebody in the center. It's really cool. Okay, I'm going to need a volunteer who would like to push the button here. I think we're going to give it to you. No, he's all right. He's got it. I'll tell you when to, one of the two there, I think it's the right one, to change the pictures. Okay, try it. There you go. Not the center, just on the right side. Right side? Yeah, or left, I'm sorry, left side, yeah. Let's see if we can get rid of that there. There we go. This one over here, just push that there. Yeah. These young engineers that, you know, went to, don't know computers. Okay, the Arsenal started 200 years ago this year. So July 14th, we're celebrating our 200th anniversary. And the Arsenal started as a result of the War of 1812. We had declared war in 1812 with Britain. We didn't like the idea of our trading ships were being captured by the British, and the sailors on our ships were conscripted to the British Army. So we decided to declare war. One of the problems was, where are we going to get our ammunition from? So they figured on building Watervliet Arsenal. They selected the site, purchased the property, and proceeded to build a arsenal, which had primary products were ammunition, cannon shots, anything that the soldier needed to fire cannon. We were not making cannon, just the making ropes, various items, and I'll show you on these next few slides. In the battle in 1813, up at Fort George, this is on the Niagara River on the British side, or Canadian side. We kind of demolished that whole fort, and we took a cannon as a prize. One of the reasons we have it is that the Watervliet Arsenal was a storage site for weapons between wars. So, okay. That there is a bronze cannon, and when you go there, you'll see the all the ornate labeling on there, and the seal, the English seal on there. One thing's of interest here, if you notice, there's a little enlargement here at the muzzle end. The reason for that is when you line the gun up, and a lot of them were used in ships, to an enemy ship, and you want to hit the cannonball right at the water line, you got to aim it properly. If you didn't have that lip on there, you would be aiming it 4 degrees too low. We always thought it was due pressure or whatever, but it's actually for alignment. Next. So these are the items that we manufactured. We made the ropes. We made all the accoutrements for the firing the cannon. We made ammunition boxes. We made the cannon shots and the cartridge bags. We made various types of carriage with the gun carriages on there. We made the bucket, which they put water in there when they had to swab and clean out the gun each time. We also made the flask here for the gunpowder. This is an ammunition box. These are the little bullets that they were firing. And leather goods. And this is a for the blacksmith, a traveling forge used during the. Am I in your way? Okay. Used during the Civil War. Every artillery battalion would have one of these, and the blacksmith's job was to shoe the horses. He was also a veterinarian too, and he would also do metal parts for carriages that broke or any other metal parts that the soldiers needed. So what is a artillery battalion? It consists of 6 cannon, 112 horses, and 150 men just to fire those 6 cannon. The horses had to be reshoed about every 4 weeks. Okay, got it off, good. So this is a reproduction. It cost the government $26,000 to make an accurate reproduction of the traveling forge. How it works is you had this arm up here that pulled the bellows in that big area in the back there, just 2 bellows back there, and then through here, the firebox, the air would come through, heating it up, then they get heating up the horseshoes and size them to the foot of the horse. They would get the soldiers would get the horseshoes from Bird and Iron Works over here in Troy. It would take them about an hour to shoe the horse. The Confederates did not have that luxury. The blacksmith started with a strip of metal, and it would take them 4 hours to shoe a horse. This is our dock on the Hudson River, and up here is where the area of RPI is today. We actually, that doesn't show in this picture, but eventually we took Civil War cannon, cast iron cannon, and used them as fence posts, and actually stood them upright and ran a chain link between them. When we abandoned the dock and wanted to raise the level to Broadway to use it as a parking lot, they just took those cannons and just threw them over, used it as a landfill. When they built 787, they discovered 5 of them. Okay? Now, get this picture. Here we are working with artifacts with white gloves on. Okay? Here's our commander standing down there by our dock with one of these bucket loaders holding the cannon. Okay? So we were a storehouse of cannon in between wars. This is the ammunition, the gun carriages, the cannons, and some of them were, actually these are upside down. This is our flagpole. This is Building 40, which you see as you drive by on Broadway, or 787. Most of that is Benet Weapons Laboratory, our research and development center. This is an administrative building that is no longer there today. This is the canal wall. The canal was on the other side. This is a bridge, covered bridge, going over the canal. Why a covered bridge? Two reasons. One, it kept the snow and rain off the planks of wood, and it helped not scare the horses, like, whoa, what am I walking over? Go ahead. Again, the administrative building and the Cannon Community Club, which is still there today. These walls have been torn down, and today the 9-hole pitch and putt course actually ends here with the 9th hole and starts over this way with the 1st hole. It goes through the arsenal, through the grounds. Whoop, go back one. Can you do that? Let me see here. Come on, where's the arrow here? Okay, this is our building. It's a cast iron building built in 1859. Everybody always asks, why a cast iron building? Well, your two choices were cast iron or wood brick building. In a wood brick building, you could not have windows as big as you could in a cast iron building structurally. Plus, in about the 1840s, they developed the process of making very large plates of cast iron. So there's buildings down in New York City that are 4 stories tall, made just from basically cast iron. A lot of towns have in their stores, they would have the facade on the front made from cast iron so that the windows could be bigger so that they could show their wares. Also, you didn't have good fire departments, and if it was a wood brick building, good chances are it would burn down. 3rd Street, right there. Covered bridge over the Erie Canal. When it went from Broadway is back over here, 3rd Street comes over and then continues on. This particular building is the Jones company that manufactured trolley cars. The original ones were horse-pulled, and but they had the tracks actually in front of the arsenal. Eventually they went to electric ones, and they actually had on Broadway, they had the electric wires up there. These barges are up in the air. That means they're empty, and they're being stored here. So we had right here is where we pulled water off the Erie Canal to run it through in the building 40 over here and dump the water into a turbine, got that rotary motion going to run our machine, and then take the power off with the belts to the machines and run it to run for making gun carriages. This is actually an open pit area here where the water would flow through, and this was a coal pit in here. This was just storage areas in here. Okay? You can go on the internet and get these maps of many cities throughout the United States. They didn't have airplanes at that time to take pictures or Google or whatever maps. This is all three-dimensional maps. This is the Erie Canal, the bridge, the covered bridge I showed you. This is the flagpole and where the cannon were stored. This was all Building 40, our museum. This was the enlisted barracks. Our commander's house was here. The clock tower office building was here, and more apartments over in here. So it was all done in three-dimensional. This is, if you go to Albany, then you get the whole area, and I brought it to the northern end of it, where I was able to pull up at Watervliet. Okay. Okay, so in 1887, Congress decided to have a government-owned, government-operated cannon manufacturer. Prior to that, all the cannon were being manufactured by industry. To backtrack a little bit, they started out with bronze cannon, that one you saw from 1813. They then, in the early 1800s, went to cast iron, which is kind of a little bit of a brittle metal, but then they were able to rifle it, and eventually, about 1840s, they started with gun steel, which is what used to make the Williams gun, and then eventually most guns with breech loading capability. This is a picture of the actual first 16-inch gun we made in 1903. And then this gentleman here, his title was cannon engraver. His job was to engrave the name, the number of it, what the model number was, how much it weighed, and where it was manufactured. So if you go to various forts up and down the eastern seaboard and you see any cannon, look on the muzzle end and see if our name's on there. This young lady there was bringing her lunch, the lunch to her father. That was him. How we found this out was we had a mural of the arsenal history of women at Watervliet. They used this little cutout for the first lady in that sequence of pictures on up today. They put it up by our building headquarters on a Friday, and they had a big unveiling. I don't know, Mary Lou, if you were, Jane, you were there or not, but we had the TV channels were there and everything, and we just happened to have a family visiting the area, watching TV that night, and said, "Oh, we have that picture at home." They showed up a couple weeks later and gave us all the information of the names. It was kind of cool. Oh, okay. Here's our dock. In fact, I think it was in the other room. There is that same picture. Unfortunately, what Tom did was he cut it off here. If you look very carefully here, you can see the cannon laying here on this barge. And this crane here picked up the cannon and then brought it over to this barge and deposited there. And then it was shipped down to Sandy Hook, New Jersey, where they did the test firing, and then eventually was turned over to the troops. Later on, the test firing was done at Aberdeen Proving Grounds in Maryland, and then eventually out to Yuma Proving Grounds. Okay. Okay, the Erie Canal up at Maplewood was one of the several locks that weighed. They actually had a support inside here of wood, and they would lift the barges up and weigh them, and they would charge them the toll. This is a toll house and weigh house collector's office. Okay. The covered bridge has now been changed over, replaced with a steel bridge. Okay, 1900. This is a very famous picture that we have in our Federal Credit Union, a real big, humongous one. The name on here, which you can't read, is Adlai Stevenson. It's one of our former governors. There's a gentleman right here operating the steering. The two boats are tied together. The family probably lives in the front one. And let me just move this over a little bit. Whoops. Can you go? Oops. Okay. You're too quick. Over here on the right is right there. This is the towpath. There's a young boy. Don't touch the top. There was a young boy over here walking with 2 mules, and that was his job to walk. That's the speed these barges traveled. But again, they could carry so much weight as to compare to the old method, which was on wagons and over bumpy dirt roads. Our museum is down here, and this railroad bridge allowed us to where we made the cannon up in our big long gun shop, and then transported them over the Erie Canal down to the Hudson River dock there. That since has been torn out. Actually, the level of this road here was almost to the 2nd floor of Building 40. Okay. This is North End. That there is that church that used to be there. St. Patrick's. This is a Whipple arch bridge. I think there's still one left in Clifton Park. And again, the canal went right up through Watervliet. I don't know how many of you have been in the Price Chopper in Watervliet. If you do, go into the, right in there, make a left towards the service counter, turn around and walk back. You're walking up a hill. That part of the building is sinking. Okay. This we assume is the springtime. The barges were up here ready to go up in 23rd Street into the entrance to the canal. The barges are stored down in the East River in New York City, where there's no ice during the wintertime, and they're brought back up here by steamboat to get ready for their travels through the locks and up all the way to Buffalo. There's a little steam-powered boat right here. There is their clothesline hanging right here. This is a portable bridge. You would take that bridge and hook it off to the side here and down onto the ground, because you actually stored your mules. They lived inside this little opening in here. And so you had them walk out, and then you would, your mules would be 6 hours on, 6 hours off for every day. Some of them would actually rent mules as they went through the system there. Okay, next. So here we have some families walking through the Erie Canal on the towpath. You got to be very careful where you walk on the towpath. This is the end of the north end of the canal, of the arsenal, as it is over on this side here. There was a waterway right here that where they repaired them, where the back of the firehouse is where it used to be. It was a dry dock, and they would actually repair the ships. Yep. Okay. Again, this is the bridge going over. Where's where we pulled the water up. This was our dock on the canal. We did receive materials, and I'm sure we shipped out some items. The canal went through the arsenal in 1826. So if any of you come on the arsenal and you see that wall there, actually it's on the other side of the road tracks, but that wall, that was built in the early 1800s. It probably was in existence to the early 1900s. And then it was abandoned, and then they started the barge canal up with Waterford. That construction of the barge canal all the way out to Buffalo was second to the Panama Canal construction because of all the locks and the dams and the all the buildings that were built to accomplish that. Okay. In 1910, we stored a lot of carriages here on the open area. Our flagpole is over here. That's the north end there. These are our buildings right here, the residential areas. And the arsenal ended up about here. So all this over here is where all our cannon shots was being stored. And there's a couple guys standing here. I think another one over here and a couple over here. But these were the carriage wheels and the carriages that we stored there. That is 1910. Okay? Next one. 1913 was that humongous flood. I hope they moved all those gun carriages out of there, because if they didn't, it would have floated down the river. Again, it's on the other side of this road here. So we had a bridge. This is today pretty much the road that we have from the main entrance that is now closed that went up to our headquarters building. A family that probably lived on post. To get to the officers club, they built a little floating bridge here to get to it. And the canal, the water went all the way up to the canal. This is the west side of the canal wall. Okay. World War I, Ed Bike was a draftsman at the Arsenal. He was also an artist. He drew many pictures during his lifetime. When he worked there at the Arsenal, this is one of his sketches that he drew. And we have the original. The photograph that we have hanging up actually looks better than the original. But Help with the War and Brandon Braun. There was a second one that worked together, united. And we actually used that one throughout the Arsenal to show the work of Watervliet Arsenal and Benet Weapons Lab and our private contractors that are on post there. Okay. All right, now I'm going to show you a series of pictures of what happened in World War I. Again, you got to remember, we're building 6 buildings in World War I. This is one of them. In the beginning, there was just the bare ground. You move dirt around on a if you want to call it a dump truck, pulled by 2 horses. So in the 3rd of May, this is what the ground looked like. Okay. In June, I think it was June 6th or something like that, they had already started construction and started with the support beams and everything. And then over here on this side is where they had cement mixers, and they actually built railroad tracks from the backside of the Arsenal all the way to the front, where they could bring the gravel in and the material they need to build the building. Okay. So here's the dump truck with its bottom end opened up. The only thing I saw any power was a steamroller. And I'm not sure exactly what these wheels were used for. But again, this is 10 June. The museum's over here, the Erie Canal's here, and these buildings, I'm led to believe that were barracks for the workers that worked on all these buildings. Okay. So how do you build a cement building, reinforced cement building? How do you get that second floor in there? You got to put up all these support pieces of wood. And then they eventually, next picture you'll see, they finished off the second floor, and then they were able to pour cement up there. So what kind of cranes did you have? They built it out of wood. So all the cement to bring it up, they actually had to lift it up and onto the 2nd and 3rd floor. So here's the 2nd floor. Here is the Jones Company. So this is kind of looking west, the southern part of Watervliet. And they're putting the rebar down. And they didn't have that. Let's go back one picture. That's all right. It's my fault, I think. Yep, I did miss it. Over here, this gentleman is holding on to I assume, I don't know, it's plastic, probably metal at that time, a big round thing, if you want to call it. Okay? And I'll show you the next picture where they place it. Go ahead. So that was placed right in this area here. I'm sorry, I think there is one right here. Yep, that they laid it down flush with the ground, underneath to the 2nd floor, so that when you built the pillar from downstairs, you had this nice wide flange on the top. Okay. Now here's in August 27th. We started in May, and this is already in August, and we're up 3 stories already in that building. That's 27 August. Look what they were doing on 20 August already. No such thing as a building permit. They already had one section of one wing that they were actually producing. Here's what the support beams looked like. That was from that mold that they used that. So you had these were electric motors here that went through a main, what they call a main line shaft, and from the main line shaft you pulled back to the counter shafts and brought the power down to the machines. I don't know if you can see it here, but one belt is straight to this machine and the other one is twisted to this machine, just to change the direction. Wooden blocks on the floor. The reason for the wooden blocks, one, it was softer on your feet. If there was a lot of oil collected on the floor and it buckled up, you just pull them out and pop new ones in. And the most important was, if you dropped the piece, you dented the floor, not the piece. This one is a staged picture. You don't have that many people working at all one time in the shops here. But again, you had motors ride to the line shafts here and then running down to the machines. Look what they're wearing. Vests, ties, white shirts. Some of them had bibs on. And these are actually in Building 25. If you ever drive by the Arsenal, just as you come in the gate, on your left side would be the 3-story tan building. 1936 or even before that, the canal was abandoned. This was the one over prior to the Officers Club, and there was one here, the railroad tracks. During World War II, they were finally torn down, and the ground was leveled off. Okay. We had a discussion here, I forget who it was, about the Dry River. Where did that go? Yeah. And came through the Arsenal. Here it is. There's the archway right there. And then on this other end, right before Broadway, was the other archway. This is our cemetery. At the south end of the Arsenal was there was a regular cemetery, in Watervliet Cemetery. And where we had our big gun shop at the very end of it, that's pretty much where it was located. In fact, if you look on that map of 1845, at that south end, you'll actually see a little picture of a tombstone in there. We needed that. We bought that for $100 or $1,000 from the town, and most of the graves were transported to other museums, other Albany Rural Cemetery or other cemeteries in the area. But some of them that were military-oriented, that worked at the Arsenal either as workers or military or civilians, were then transferred into Watervliet. You can't see on here, but we have 3 stones here. This one says 8 unknowns. This one says unknown, and that one says unknown. This particular one here is one individual that was buried in the Arsenal. The only one. I think he died in 1926 from an explosion. Had he died, he was a PFC in the Army, and I guess his family didn't have much money, so they buried him right here in the Arsenal. That is now considered a closed post cemetery. Because Arlington Cemetery kind of screwed up their paperwork with who was buried where, they went through and found out where all the Army museums were, and we happen to be one of them. A lot of them will have hundreds or thousands of graves in there. But so I was given, this is going back 2 months, they sent me a camera, it's actually an iPhone, with a battery pack, to take pictures of the back, the front, and any other markings on those stones. Unfortunately, most of them were of the military, already nice and decorated up and straight and everything like that. These came from that other older cemetery. A lot of them are worn out. We do have the one of these here. This one has a very nice storyline on it. There's two laying flat in the ground. There's one here, and there's one on the other side, right in here. And one has a very long story on it. So anyway, they give me the iPhone, and they give me a my phone. I didn't say a Y phone, a my phone. It's a little phone. It's not a phone. It's a Y that you turn it on, and it will connect, and it will take the transmission from the Y phone to that and send it on its way to Arlington. Like that. Instantaneously, the pictures are sent within a couple minutes. Unbelievable. So, I probably will have the phone maybe for one more week, and then after that, it gets shipped down to Anniston Army Depot, and they're going to do all theirs. Okay. This was our hospital. This was the first wing of the hospital. During World War II, we treated German prisoners of war in our hospital. They were living over in Scotia. If you notice here the roof line, which was nice around there, next picture. Then they built a second wing to it, and see the different roof line and this original one? Okay. Both roof lines are the same. The original roof line to this is still inside. They have a fan up here running all day long, all night, all year round, keep the moisture from getting in there, but because nobody's up there. We have a lot of ghost stories about that building. This bottom floor down here was the morgue, and where they actually had the funerals and stuff. And when a family moved in there, so this is going back probably about 10 years ago, the little boy says, "Oh, men all red." And his mother had no idea what she was talking about. He was a young boy. They also had a teenage girl. And the girl would complain, "Ma, somebody's pulling my blankets off in the middle of the night." Yeah, okay, well, don't know what. So anyway, the mother's in the bedroom, sitting on the bed, while the daughter's doing her hair, getting ready for bed, getting ready for school. What does she see? The mirror. Moving up and down. Okay. They then brought a paranormal group in. One guy was doing the cameras and the video, the taping. Another one, the lady was more feeling of what was there and stuff. The boy who saw the men in red, that was all blood stains they had on them, but they were shot in the war. The other one, I'm not sure exactly what he was, but they talked them all into leaving. And we've had other incidents in the arsenal where the commander's house, he put a cup of coffee down over here, come back, it's over here. What we suspect is the servant who in the 1800s, and she was black, lived upstairs. And even though the commander would change every 2 or 3 years, she stayed on. And they treated her as family, and she treated them as family. And she had some young kids. The young child was the current commander. She babysat for the boy next door. He was about 4 years old. He came over, she showed him the house and everything. And he says, "Oh, the little girl." Well, what she thought the little boy was talking about was in that room, there was a little table, 2 chairs, and 2 dolls on there. He thought he was talking about the dolls. So he comes back again a couple weeks later. "Can I see the little girl?" "What are you talking?" And it turned out black. Well, Jill Morris, who lived on 207th 19th Street. Have any of you heard about it? Okay. She has come down here. She moved out to California. Her house has been torn down. It's right where Rite Aid is today. Actually, next to the building that's still there. She is coming back to do a documentary on paranormal in the town of Watervliet. The arsenal's right in the middle of it. So she's walking through the house, and I gave her a tour of the house, and then Barbara Migoletti asked, was the servant, was she black? And Jill said yes. And that's where she ties it in. We went down to the basement, and there was a long kind of a closet-type room, and she says, somebody died in here. And it was a black person, and apparently what we're getting from it is that he died there because he was already sick. Okay, so he didn't make it any further. Then when we're upstairs, let me backtrack a little bit. When we're upstairs, she says, there's a gruffy-looking guy looking out the window, actually to the west. He was looking out to the west. And she says, I don't know what he's doing, why he's here, but he's looking out the window. Okay. And then we went downstairs, and then we figured that our headquarters building, quarters 1, was part of the Underground Railroad, which has not been documented in that at all yet. So our commander is leaving on July 14th, or around that week, and there's a new commander coming in. He's going to be a little surprised. Anyway, the servant was a very neat person and didn't like things put in the wrong place. We suspect she's the one that's moving the cup and putting it where she thinks it should be. Okay, next picture. We hired a fellow, I don't remember his last name offhand, his name was Weber, and he was hired as to handle the gunpowder. And in the storeroom, we had actually a building that had 4-foot thick walls, so if there was ever an explosion or a fire, it would go up and not out. Turns out, so him and his wife, they built that house. This is right by our headquarters building is right over here in the lower part of the hill. This is up on the hill there. He was severely injured in an accident of an explosion of gunpowder. That stuff is very dangerous. If it gets a spark or anything, it can ignite it. And then if you had a gunpowder on the ground and the spark will just ignite it and have a real big blow. So they brought him back to the house, and he died that night. So his wife's now a widow. She went back to the Army and said, hey, how about a widow's pension? They said, yeah, we built the house for you. We paid you extra pay. You knew it was a dangerous job. No widow's pay. So she went back a couple of times, and they kept saying no. Finally, they decided to pay her, but by that time, she's already dead, and there's no descendants, so they actually paid nobody. But what she said was, fine, Wilbur is going to haunt that house forever. Now, that house burnt down. And down in the basement, there was ashes or wood or something that made the shape of a W. Okay? So there's 2 paranormals that came in that looked at where the hospital was. They went up to that new, change picture. They went to the house that was rebuilt, which is this one, and they came in and they felt Wilbur. The commander was there also, and they asked the commander to, in an authoritative military voice, to tell him, it's okay, you can leave now. What the paranormals also told us was that there were children visiting upstairs in the attic. Now, that can mean one of 2 things. It was a playground for the kids and the kids in the arsenal to play up there, rainy days or whatever have you, or it was a hospital for the kids when they had cholera or all other children's disease back in that time. So we really don't know. Okay. All right, now we're going to go in a little bit of history here. Speeds right through. We're almost finished. This World War II, we made the gunship. We made the 16-inch guns used on the battleships. We were one of 3 producers. Us, Washington Naval Yard in Washington, D.C., and Pocatello, Idaho, was another facility. And those buildings are still out there in Pocatello. Okay. They could fire a 16-inch projectile which weighed a ton, 26 miles, hit a football field, and wipe it out. We had one of the veterans that came by yesterday, and he said he was a forward observer out in Korea, and he noticed that coming out on railroad tracks out of a cave was a big heavy gun. So they called in the 105 guns, and they couldn't even reach it. So they called in the 155 millimeter guns. It was a mile short. The guy says, "How can it be a mile short? You gave me the coordinates. I aimed for it." "Well, let's see. This map is dated such and such a date." He says, "Where did you get that map? It's so old." They looked through their files. They found it. He says, "Okay, now I know where we're going." So he hit one. He couldn't reach it. So they called in the 16-inch guns off the battleships. First one went over the backside of it. "Oh, you're about 500 yards too far." Second one came in, was short. He says, "I know exactly where it is." Third one came in and hit the thing and blew it up because apparently there's a lot of ammunition stored in the cave. It just blew the mountain up. So that's what that 16-inch gun can do. Unbelievable. Okay. So Korea, Vietnam, we had 16 8-inch gun tubes. These are the ones that we used to make the bunker buster in Desert Storm. 8-inch gun tubes, yep. The originally on this self-propelled vehicle was 175 millimeter. We switched over to the 8-inch. They liked them better. They were more accurate for some reason. Okay. Now we got the Abrams tank. This one here, we made the tube with, this is a fiberglass bore evacuator on there. What it does is there's holes drilled through the tube into that bore evacuator. The projectile is fired. It pressurizes that tank. The projectile goes out. Most of the gases goes out. And then the gases in that bore evacuator push rest of the gases out so that the gases don't go inside the tank for the operators to breathe. Now, this particular weapon can fire on the move. All our other tanks have to be stationary when they fire it. And the previous ones, like the 8-inch, the projectile goes out of the gun tube about a half a mile a second. And you have rifling, and it spins out, and it comes out spinning. This one is smoothbore. The projectile goes out at 1 mile a second. If the gunner sees a tank 2 miles away, it will take him less than 20 seconds to hit that tank. He sends out a laser beam. It comes back with all kinds of information of speed, wind speed, and everything. Tells the loader to load a projectile, close it all up, taps him on the shoulder, and he fires. Nothing happens. The computer takes over because this thing is on the move. And it's very difficult to keep that gun tube exactly on target. But when it is, within a millisecond, an eighth of a second, whatever it takes, it releases the projectile. And that's how they get their accuracy. Okay. Bunker buster. So this laser-guided system was already in existence. This cone, pointed cone in the front here, was Cameron Iron Works already had the material in existence. We went down there and flew it back. This part from here to here was made from the 8-inch gun tube. And again, these fins were already in existence. Okay. This is our rotary forge. This is a 2,000 degrees. You can't see it too well, but there's 4 heads in here. They are about maybe 2 feet wide, 4 feet long, with a long taper on it. We buy the steel from the forging suppliers, 3 feet, 2.5 feet in diameter, 4 feet long. Heating it up to 2,000 degrees, run it through the rotary forge, and in 12 minutes we got a 17-foot long gun tube, which takes another 100 hours of machining time, but that's unbelievable. Okay. So, weapons to warfighters, we have the technology, unique manufacturing technology here, and Benet Weapons Laboratory. It's all tied into one nice organization there. We're one of the few manufacturing facilities that have the Research and Development Center right on spot. The only problem with this picture is we didn't make anything in this picture. But our mission is to provide the best weapons for American warfighters. Okay. So here's our museum, this cast iron building. And this is the cannon that was captured in the Battle of Saratoga. This is the one I believe that was the one that was from the 1813. We had little cohorn mortars down here. That has since been moved around in the museum. In the back of the museum, you can see the architecture of the support beams here. We had a balcony over here, and we had a balcony on the other side over there, and it opened in the center. We had this machine shop put over here. So we put a belt drive in here and tied it to a motor upstairs and put in a drill press, stamping machine, a milling machine, planer, all kinds of different machines. They weren't from the arsenal, but they're machines from this area. And so we show you what a machine shop in the early 1900s would have looked like. The oldest ones, being this stamping machine, was built in 1862. And back here, which you can't see, was a lathe that was built in 1863. Those machines are all belt-driven. You actually have the mainline ship. This one comes right down here to the drive of the lathe. This is twisted. If you turn the machine around the other way, the belt would have come down straight. And so then this one here, it actually comes off to the countershaft up top here, which you can then turn it on and off from a stick here to run this machine here. Okay. Another view. Today, they built a little room inside here, and along here, they built a trench to bring the water line in for our fire suppressant system. And obviously, you got to have it down 4 feet so it doesn't freeze on you. When they dug down, of all the whole thing in the whole building, it's run right across there. What did we see underground? A brick wall. It came from the outside wall into about here, and the top of the bricks were like a couple inches below the floor level. So we know it was built before the floor level was put in. And there was also a flooring, which kind of ended kind of ragged beyond the wall. It went out about 4 feet, and then it was a ragged end. We don't know what was on the other end. We didn't have any money to be able to dig in there and see what it was. My first reaction was, let's put a glass plate over it so people can see it. But unfortunately, it's buried under there. And but they do know that the bricks were manufactured in a company in Troy after the museum was constructed. So, okay. Again, the machine shop. Go ahead. This is quarters 1. Second largest government-owned private residence in the United States. The White House being the largest. We were number 3. Rock Island Arsenal had the second largest, and they turned that into classrooms and office space, so we end up being number 2. This room up here was the daughter's bedroom. This is the parents' bedroom. Behind the daughter's bedroom was a hallway, again, for toy room. They would be, kids would play in there and everything. And then her bed was up against that wall. Her head was up against that wall. But behind it was the playroom. And she would get weird dreams at nighttime, almost to screaming and everything. And she would run into the parents' house there and say, oh boy, bedroom and sleep in there. So what Jill Mars said was, when we leave, take the bed, turn it around, put the headboard in the front part of the room. Barbara couldn't wait to do it. As soon as we walked out that door, she ran upstairs and she turned that bed around. Apparently it worked. Because the bed had metal posts on there too, and it was just a magnet for energy. So, okay. We're done. Yes, sir. Yes. Unfortunately, we're not doing any more tours. If you give your name to Tom today or some other time, I don't know what the new commander's wife is going to do, whether she's going to be willing to do it or not. I will propose a tour because Barbara proposed it to me, and it worked out really well. But we had this tour Thursday, and her comment was, that's the last, because I asked about this, that's the last tour because they now have to get ready to pack to move out this summer. So, unfortunately, there's no more tours. Yes?
The 280 was never used in combat, was it?
No, it was not. The 280 cannon we built was used to fire a atomic anti-weapon in Nevada, about 60 miles south of Nevada, where's that gambling place? Okay. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. I'm John Rosano, and I'm president of the Watervliet Charitable Foundation. We're very pleased to be here. While I'm president of the organization, the rest of the board of directors is Kathy Crudo, Bob Carlson, Mike Manning, and Mike Reinford. And the purpose of our organization is to make grants to the most worthy organizations in the city, and we're very happy tonight to be presenting a check for $1,000 to the Watervliet Historical Society. They make an important contribution to the city. And Tom, I hope this money will help further your programs.
Thank you very much, John, and we really appreciate this. We'll put it to good use, obviously. We already have it earmarked for a project. We hope to put a cover on the St. Patrick's Bell, which is now sitting outside the museum. Again, I can't thank you enough.
Thanks very much, Tom.
Okay, my name is Ryan Hanley, and a few months ago when I originally heard that it was definitely coming down, I decided to come out with this ink drawing as well as a couple other drawings, and I just figured the people of Watervliet would appreciate it. It is a shame that it's even happening, but I guess it does have to eventually happen. I don't know why it would happen right now, but it is a beautiful structure. There's not very many like it, so it is a shame that it had to come down.
Hi, my name is Tom Ragusta, president of the Watervliet Historical Society, and I really appreciate. I really appreciate this painting from you, Ryan. Thank you very much. And
you're welcome.
We'll definitely display it in our church display, which was recently been completed. So thanks again. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. Yeah. Thank you very much.
I'm Dan McCoy, the Albany County Executive. I'm honored to be part of the 200-year celebration of the Watervliet Arsenal. As we all know, it started the War of 1812, and the war heated up. July 14th, 1813, we started making cannons here. And in 1888, it became the nation's cannon factory. So 200 years of history. I'm honored that it's here in Albany County, and it's in the heart of our county. And they've been a good partnership, the military and the workers and the families outside the arsenal. So I do declare U.S. Army Watervliet Arsenal as of today, the 10th of May, 2013, as the American's Cannon Factory. So I want to thank you guys for everything that you do here and give you that. And it's an honor to present this after 200 years and still strong. With with everything going around the world and the new technology and the modern technology we have going at the arsenal, it's just been a great fix, and it's probably good. I hope it's going to be here for another 100 years.
Thank you very much, Dan. We really appreciate it, and yes, we partner with the arsenal all these years, and we're so happy to have him here as a partner. And the arsenal has really helped the museum. They've donated a number of items to us. He's been my mentor. Bob File, the curator at the museum, has been my mentor, actually, to help us get this museum going, and we're just tickled pink to receive this award. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us at the 2013 annual fundraiser for the Watervliet Museum. If you have not yet visited the museum, come on down. If you have visited, come visit again. You will be amazed at what is new, and admission is always free. I'm Mary Jo Hughes, and you're watching your award-winning WVLT, Channel 17.
I ask you to forget health insurance for a moment because this next story should make you feel better. Tonight's Take a Break report about a group of people doing everything they can to help. But help who, you ask? Well, whoever needs it most. In Watervliet, everything from books to beauty salons, transportation to recreation has had its share of struggles thanks to the recession.
We always try to meet the needs of the patrons, and sometimes the funding isn't there.
Amanda Benedict is the director of the Watervliet Public Library, and she says a recession is usually the time when libraries become busier than ever, when borrowing books and movies suddenly looks a lot better than buying.
Keeping up with that is very difficult financially.
Similar story at the senior center.
We were really hard-pressed to figure out how we were going to keep the van on the road.
Executive Director Teresa Ashline says when gas prices skyrocketed last year, it crimped an already crunched budget, and it affected everything, not just the senior transportation program.
The beauty parlor, all of the programs, our classes, our health maintenance, social and rec programs, the transportation program, the core programs like the van and food.
Even youth sports programs in the city could feel the pinch. Plans to put lights around the athletic field seemed destined for the bench.
Each of these groups had fundraisers and donation drives, but it just wasn't enough to get them over the top. Thankfully, Watervliet groups like these have an ace in the hole, sort of a fairy god foundation.
So I hope this will help support the center.
What you see here is a televised check presentation from a group known simply as the Watervliet Charitable Foundation. The WCF raises money just to raise money, and every year they determine which organizations are the most in need and then dish out some desperately needed help.
We've got our ear to the ground, so we're listening. We're trying to see what's needed and when.
Mayor Mike Manning is one of the folks who keeps the foundation ticking. It's not affiliated with the city, but he loves what they've been able to do for it.
They gave us money, which enabled us to continue running the van.
This monitor is out of order.
At the library, computers were dropping like flies. The WCF helped pick up the pieces and the tab.
And without the funding from the Charitable Foundation, we wouldn't be able to do that until probably next year this time.
And those lights at the athletic field, shine on, Watervliet, shine on. It's a neat idea, raising money to help whoever might need it most, one that Manning hopes will catch on in other communities.
That's just gravy for us, we think.
But the meat and potatoes of this operation is hard to miss.
What would it be like if we didn't have that contribution from the Watervliet Charitable Foundation?
We would not be able to meet the needs of our patrons, and that makes for a very poor library and a very sad community.
So I think it's a wonderful thing that they do, and they give back to the community, and it's just a beautiful thing.
Beautiful thing for sure. The WCF relies on donations from businesses and individuals, and they say the community has been just great.